Welcome back to the Castaway Consultants, where we teach future Survivor players how to play the game by critiquing, in this case, current players. I am one of your slightly sick co-hosts, Derek Kubicek, and today we are going to be analyzing Season 43, Episode 8, Preposterous. And because I'm slightly under the weather, I'm going to just go ahead and pass this right off to my two favorite co-hosts, Ryan Stacy and Josh Wessler.
Right, this is Ryan Stacy here, and I want to say, Derek, your voice is preposterous tonight.
That's fair. That's fair. I get it.
I actually think it sounds better than usual.
Oh, got him.
That's fair too. That's fair. I'm just kidding. I allied and y'all ooped. You know, that's fine.
But we can really blame all of this on Josh for visiting last week with his dog.
Yeah, that was interesting. For those of you who don't know, I am very allergic to dogs, and Josh brought his wonderful dog Winston up to visit, and I was so excited to meet Winston. I took an allergy pill and everything, and I still died.
So Derek, you can take it easy tonight. Just jump in when you feel like it, so you don't like waste your voice.
We'll see how it goes. One nice thing about tonight is, you know, just getting into how we feel about the episode. This was standard Survivor.
Pretty straightforward.
And I think standard Survivor makes above average television. And I greatly enjoyed this episode. It was almost relaxing going into a vote and being like, wow, I don't know who this is going to be, and I don't think a single advantage is going to get played. So it was nice. It was relaxing. It was cathartic.
We had two people on the chopping block. There were valid reasons for each to go, and someone went home. Nothing more, nothing less. Classic Survivor. And you know what? That's nice sometimes.
Y equals MX plus B.
Even that's a little bit complicated here.
2 plus 2
very
equals
nice.
4.
2 plus 2 equals Fishbach.
Very nice, very straightforward. I enjoyed it as well. You know, got to sweat my survivor pool pick. So I guess that was nice, except not really. But you know, live to fight another day.
Yeah, I feel like the most interesting about this episode was that we learned more about last time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Big revelations from last week's episode.
Yeah, do we just want to get into the spoiler section and just talk about it?
Let's get into spoilers. 3, 2, 1. So it turns out Owen and Gabler and Noelle were all left out of the vote last time.
Yep,
along with
confirmed.
Janine. Confirmed. None of them were in on it. This wasn't to prevent shot in the dark. I want to get this on the record right now. I'm going to predict no shot in the dark we played this season. None.
It seems to be going that way because I felt like Janine, who goes home tonight, I felt like she had enough of a reason to play her shot in the dark, and she didn't. So it tells me a lot.
And which is so weird. I mean, you get completely different groups of people season to season. I understand that, and maybe this has to do with, you know, how people are talking about shot in the dark at camp. Maybe they talked about it completely differently, just, you know, Castaway to Castaway last season, and maybe this season they're not evaluating shot in the dark in the same way, so people aren't really thinking about it in the same way. Because we've had a few different examples already up until this point when people should have played it.
Yep.
This being one of them. So that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. The one thing I do really like that we got here is exactly what we talked about last week. Is we got information about Baka.
Yes. It turns out Sammy, like last minute, jumped on board to join and become the 7th member of the 7 to vote out Dwight.
He's basically informed 11th hour and was like, yeah, I can't stop this train. I might as well hop on.
So Janine is kind of upset with him, but, you know, what can you do? But the biggest revelation of all, everyone in the game believes Janine's idol is now out because it went home in Dwight's pocket. Well, it turns out in the item shuffle game that happened last time, Dwight actually passed it off to Jesse, and no one else knows this. So Jesse actually has 2 idols right now because he's still holding on to Cody's as well. Wow, that's huge, shocking revelation. Shocking.
And he's basically saying Cody hasn't asked for it back, so I guess I'm hanging on to it for now. Which I mean, I guess when you still have knowledge is power out there, I understand why you would just keep hanging on to it. But Cody, you might want to be a little bit careful about how long you let him hang on to this thing.
Feels a little bit like Ty.
Yeah, and if he does ask for it back, you gotta give it back. You gotta.
Yeah.
You'll lose the game if you don't.
And also, if you blindside Cody with his idol still in your pocket and he's on the jury, he's not voting for you.
Yeah, honestly, just give it back to him.
Honestly,
just to get rid of that temptation, because it'll be there, but you can't do that. You
Well,
can't let yourself do that.
I would hang on to it until he asked for it, because
Sure.
if Cody goes out, then whoops. Okay.
I think I would give it back to him in the interim and say, if we're worried about James, you can give it back to me. That's
I
fine.
suppose.
But like, hey, take it until then. I just want you to know it's yours. It's not mine. We're still good.
Yeah, that's the right way to go. But that's the big revelation about last time. But tonight we got to focus on this time. So Owen, Janine, Noelle, and Gabler, they're the four on the bottom. Jesse and Cody flipped. So they want to try and make a move and do something to try and change the game, because there's a group of 7. It is the entirety of Coco. It is Jesse and Cody and then Sammy, who are controlling the game. And those 7 all talk about, like, hey, we should just stick together to the end. We'll take out Owen next. It'll be great. Owen's the biggest threat of the 4. It'll be awesome. The one thing that's holding it back is Sammy doesn't necessarily want to do that. Makes some sense. 3 of the people on the bottom are Baka members. He might not want to take him out. He might want to change the game up. But I think in general, once a solid big alliance has been set and you make it through a vote together and you're good, the 7 of you are locked in, I think you need to stick together for one more vote. Otherwise, things are going to go off the rails in a bad way. So I really do think these 7 need to stick together, and they're ultimately going to in this episode. So that would be the way I would go if I were a consultant.
I would absolutely agree. Kind of what you're talking about with going off the rails. You go into dangerous territory of basically having no alliances. I don't even remember who talked about it. I think he was in the mid 30s or something like that. Whereas basically we're just going with voting blocks at this point. Like there aren't any alliances. And he was kind of talking about it at the time as this kind of new era of Survivor that's going to be more voting blocks. And while you get that from time to time, I don't think we necessarily get it super often. But what Ryan is saying, I think that's exactly what would end up happening here if you hop right back out of this alliance of 7.
And let's self-scout this cast, because I feel like I've harped on it last week and maybe one other time, but this is a season of Survivor whack-a-mole. So if you are in the 7 and you poke your head out and you try to do something, they're still up 7-4. They're going to whack you. So for good Survivor sense, and then just analyzing this cast and their past behaviors, I think it makes sense to just don't rock the boat for now, as we're going to hear this episode.
Cassidy is going to say, and I wrote down this quote because I really like it, sometimes you have to rock the boat. True. Sometimes you shouldn't, though. It goes both ways. Sometimes you shouldn't rock the boat. This is one of those times, I think. And that's ultimately what's going to happen. No one's going to rock the boat too much. The other main aspect of this is a real throwback. My winner pick, my boy, Ryan Medrano, thinks he can win this game by just fishing all the time and providing everyone with food. A strategy that was debunked in season 1, and yet people keep trying it, and it never works. It has never once worked. My boy Ryan is going to try it, and he's going to spend almost all of his time fishing. Granted, he's successful at fishing, and he survives this episode. But oof, Ryan, dude, come on. This isn't great.
It's the social capital that he's missing out on. Even though I will say, Richard Hatch, he was the provider.
Yeah, but that's not why he won.
It's not why he won. And that's why I'm wondering, did Ryan maybe watch that season and maybe take the wrong lesson away from it?
That's the thing. That's the crazy thing, is if you did that, you could argue that, except Richard says they're not going to, I'm not sticking around here because I'm catching fish. They're sticking around. I'm sticking around because I won't let them vote me out. Richard tells us this is not why he's surviving the game.
There was someone in the preseason who said they wanted to play like Ozzy, and I'm starting to I don't remember if it was Ryan, but
sounds like something Ryan would say.
It sounds like something Ryan would say.
Do not play like Ozzy. Ozzy is not someone you want to play like.
No, not typically.
Well, and here's the thing: it might not win you the game to be the provider, but we have seen that it might last you an extra vote or two. Not much more than that.
It might help you in the pre-merge.
Buy you an extra spot.
And it might curry some goodwill if it's literally no better for you or one other person to go home. They'll be like, oh, yeah, cool, we get to eat for 2 more days. But other than that, it's not making or breaking anything.
No. Like, it's probably not going to hurt you, except for the fact that you're out swimming for 3 hours and you don't get to talk and strategize. The pros do not outweigh the cons. So don't be the fisher guy, at least for not extended periods of time. You go at once, get the bug out of your system, catch a fish or two, call it a day. You don't need to catch 21 fish in one day. You don't need to.
No.
All right, so we're gonna go to the immunity challenge. We're gonna do the thing where Jeff is gonna ask five people to sit out of the challenge to get a bag of rice. So Sammy, James, Carla, Jesse, and Cassidy all agree to sit out of the challenge. James, who wants Owen out of the game next, tries to convince Owen to sit out. I'll be like, yeah, you'll be safe. We'll protect you. No, Owen's gonna tell us later. Yeah, BS.
Yeah, and by the way, just quick side note, I like that this time Jeff is like, yeah, no, I'm not negotiating, because we didn't really like how it went in 41 and 42, because they're just like, how about 3 people, Jeff? How about 2 people, Jeff? And Jeff is like, oh, gee whiz, yeah, sure, why not? He's like, yeah, no, it's 5, and tomorrow it'll be 6.
Yeah, negotiating is fun and all when it's unexpected, but when it's like, this is the number, but I'm willing to negotiate, it's like, okay,
That's not how negotiation works.
Show in your hand, I guess.
Cody would have been like, tell you what, Jeff, how about you give me immunity and the rice, and then we call it square.
And then we'll vote an extra person out.
And we'll vote Justine out again. Because she's a salesperson.
So all these 5 people are going to be fine. They're all going to survive the vote. No big deal. They had the right read on their tribe. I still probably wouldn't do it unless I knew for a fact I couldn't win the challenge.
No, there's no chance.
I think if for example, you're Ryan and you know that Cass is in the 7 and she's kind of got a thing against you. Yeah, if you're on the bottom of the 7, probably compete. But if you think that you're in like a top 5 position in the 7, if you have the right read, cool, good on you, I guess.
And even then, I still wouldn't do it unless you know you can't win. Like, for example, Carla's hand is injured because we get injured in a challenge.
Yep.
I don't mind Carla sitting out because she couldn't do the challenge.
She has a great excuse. It's basically like, hey everyone, I know I wouldn't be able to grip onto this pole for more than 5 minutes, so I'm gonna volunteer myself. And I think Sammy's argument was pretty good. You know, he basically said like, I'm dying over here, I need food.
Yeah, he's the biggest guy.
I think they're really the only 2 people who it's justified for.
But at the same time, Ryan is catching a ton of fish. Do you really need the rice? Just keep Ryan around. Let him catch you fish. You know,
so what you're saying is Ryan's strategy works.
You could use it again. You know, it wouldn't help Ryan at all, but the other people could use him this time, because I'm gonna go ahead and possibly spoil my who can't win section. Because remember, tonight we have to have 2 people who cannot win the game. I'm gonna throw Ryan in there because he's not doing anything except fishing. So you could take Ryan to the end, and as long as you're not Gabler, you're gonna win.
Yeah, you'll have to wait to hear who my other can't win is. But spoilers, one of them is still Gabler, so.
But Owen's going to end up winning immunity, which is great because I think it would have been him otherwise. I think he saved himself tonight.
I agree.
Which you love to see, because Owen gets kind of his like flashback development tonight, and it's really nice. I really like Owen. I think if Ryan had gone home tonight and I had to pick a new winner pick, I would have picked Owen. I think Owen is going to win this game.
Oh wow! Okay,
that's what I think is going to happen.
Interesting. I thought we were gonna get the big background of Owen, and I'm like, oh no.
It was either the winner's edit or it was he's going home. I said it to Ryan right when we got the big flashback montage.
So Ryan and James are the first to initiate who's going home, because Ryan wants to get this over with really quickly so he can go fishing. It's like me wanting to get all my like chores done with so I can play video games, that kind of thing. Fine, I'll do the dishes really, really fast, and I'm gonna go play video games. Okay, bye. But their plan is to take out Janine. She's one of the 4 on the outs. You can't take out Owen. That leaves Gabler, Janine, and Noel. Gabler's not a threat. That leaves Janine and Noel. I think you could take either one of them out and be fine. I think Janine is a better player. Noel.
Really?
I think Janine's a better player than Noel. Yeah.
I feel like we just haven't seen a whole lot come from Janine yet.
Well, I just don't think Noel's a very good player. It's more like Noel's
she seems
bad,
fine,
and Janine is fine.
I think they're both fine.
I think both players are fine, but I'll say below average, at least within this cast. I'm going to say Janine and Noel are both below average. Vote out the person who's more likable. And I'm going to trust the cast on that. I'm not saying that's why they did it. That's what I would do if I was them. All right, one or the other. Who's got more social equity?
So for the 7, I think the right move, you obviously take out one of the 4. Let's start with Janine. Does Sammy put up a big stink about it? If he does, try Noel, because I don't think Cody or Jesse are going to care too much if Noel goes home. But if Sammy's fine getting rid of Janine, and ultimately he's willing to go along with it, get rid of Janine. So,
I mean, here's the thing too: is Noel still has this advantage. You could
steal a
get
vote.
that out of the game. I know that you have a 3-person alliance or a 3-person advantage right now, but all it takes is one person to flip from your side and then use the steal a vote. Like that could switch on you fairly quickly.
That's a really good point, because we're going to have a point where Sammy, Owen, Janine, Gabler, and Noel, the 5 of them are talking. They're like, we just need one more.
I don't know how that didn't work this time around.
Noel could have done a steal a vote, and they have control of
100%.
the game.
I think the big thing there, and I was talking with Ryan about this, Sammy's goal wasn't to blindside the 7. His goal was to blindside Ryan and get his alliance okay with it to keep his options open. So I'm guessing he said, it's either swap it to Ryan and we get my people involved, or we're not doing it. I refuse.
Yeah, that would make sense for Sammy. He doesn't want to blindside anyone. He wants to change the game and have people be okay with it. He doesn't want to make people mad at him. So, that makes enough sense.
Yeah, or like he just wants to blindside one person.
Yeah.
The person going home.
Which for Sammy is the right way to do it. It's
Yeah.
it's the tricky balance that everyone always talks about of how do you get people on the jury and still have them vote for you. That is how you do it. You don't do it through blindsides that they know that you caused.
Yeah.
So probably good on him not to force the hand with the steal a vote.
Yeah, I like that he stands pat in the end.
Especially given that Sammy's pretty fortunate to be even included in this club.
How is he here?
He shouldn't even go here.
And that's where I don't know how much I believe of Sammy right at the beginning. I think there was a little bit that he was just fudging the truth a little bit with Janine, saying that he was pulled in right at the last minute. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. We didn't see it, so we have to believe him. But I think it's possible that he might have included a little bit more on this vote before that. Otherwise, why would he just be included so easily with this group of 7?
Josh, are you saying we can't always trust people on Survivor?
No, I think regardless of whether he was being truthful or not, he was saying the right words.
Yeah.
And that's where we gave our plaudits.
So Sammy wants to turn the game on Ryan. Ryan's a physical threat, but beyond that, I can't really understand why. He's just fishing. Like, why take out Ryan? I don't understand that logic.
Yeah, and you get that from both Sammy and Carla too. Basically saying like he's not doing anything. Like he's out there fishing, but he's not strategizing. He's not talking with people. It's like good.
Sounds like the perfect ally.
That's what you want.
I would love to have Ryan on my season. I would team up with him.
Can you
Put
imagine
him out at
being
like the 4th?
Like, cool, this is the vote. Now go fish. Go fish boy, shark boy.
Aquaman.
And then he goes, okay, yeah, sounds good. And then he comes back with 21 fish and he'll vote exactly the way you think he's going to.
What else could you possibly want out of an ally?
That is the perfect ally, dare I say.
Bring Ryan to the end and chuck him into the fire making challenge because you're bringing Gabler.
So they get everybody on board to turn it on Ryan, but then Cody puts his foot down. He doesn't want Ryan out. He wants Janine out. Yeah, fair. You want to keep your 7 strong.
Also another meat shield for Cody.
James is going to end up changing his mind. He's going to side with Cody, and it really becomes an argument between James and Cassidy, because Cassidy does not want to see another woman go out of the game. Fair. There's been a lot of women getting taken out of the game. I don't think the women's alliance is happening this season.
Yeah, and among the 7 in the majority, only 2 are women. It's Carla and Cass.
Yep.
So I understand them wanting to keep some options open that are, groups that they're included in that are a little bit more exclusive.
And out of 11, what do we have? Only 4 left?
Yeah. 3 now.
Well,
Three
yeah,
out of 10,
before 4.
which is crazy.
That's a crazy amount.
Now, I know that Cassie should be drawing attention to the fact, like, she's like, I'm sick of women going home and saying that to James.
She says
didn't
that
like
in
that.
That's something you say in confessional. It's something you say to Carla. You could say it to Janine. I don't think that's something that you say to the people you are at odds with within your alliance.
If I'm James, I'm remembering that, and I will take Cassidy out at some point, most likely, and maybe just wipe out the rest of the women as well because of that. I don't know.
It helps that you don't really need to worry about it at this point, especially after once Janine goes home. It's like, okay, that's not really too much of an issue.
It wouldn't be an issue until the final 5, probably.
Yeah.
If you kept all 3 women and there was 2 guys left, then maybe. But we're at the final 10 now. So, yeah, I don't love that for Cassidy. But we're going to go to Tribal Council. It's going to be 9 votes for Janine, 2 votes for Ryan. Cassidy is going to keep her vote on Ryan alongside Janine. Again, was it because of Shot in the Dark, or was Cassidy legitimately left out? I think it was because of Shot in the Dark. That would make the most sense to me. But that's what I said last week, and I was wrong.
True. That's before we knew anything about Baca and how Owen fit into that, because he was one of the people who we were kind of confused about. Cassidy, we at least know she's part of this alliance, and in the middle of it, especially right in the middle of James and Carla there. So I'm just gonna say shot in the dark. Someone's got to. So she probably just readily volunteered to just be like, yes, I will put my name down for Ryan. I'm gonna go with that.
It's hard to judge it
Yeah.
too harshly because I mean, yeah, if Janine plays her shot in the dark, then there's no votes on anybody else. I don't like it going on Ryan though. Ryan is in the 7.
Right.
It should go on to Noelle. It
Yes.
should. It should go on to Gabler before it goes on to Ryan. From Cass's perspective, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's a fair point. Now I know Cass doesn't like Ryan, doesn't trust Ryan. So I'm not as mad about it for Cassidy because Ryan is someone who has gone for Cassidy in the past. But yeah, I do think on paper, Noelle or Gabler would have been better people to put down, especially Noelle.
Mm-hmm.
But like we said, this is a pretty straightforward vote. I think I could speak for all of us when I say I think Janine was the right move. Maybe Noelle. But if Sammy's not going to put too much at stake, Janine is a fine move.
Yeah, especially when we're talking about right move, wrong move. I'm not going to choose between, or I'm not going to say that it was the wrong move because it should have been Noelle.
Sure.
I'm going to look between, was it right or wrong of Janine versus Ryan?
Okay.
So yes.
Yes, Janine is definitely better than Ryan.
Yeah, I agree. But my favorite question of the night: does Twitter agree?
Yes, that's the big question.
Yeah, boy, howdy! I would love some more context here, because 86.7% of Twitter said that no, the right person did not go home.
Well, at least it's not 82% because that would have been the inverse shot in the dark odds again.
Derek is going mad over that.
Yeah. The numbers aren't lining up. It's taking me off.
Yeah.
Twitter, you're dumb.
Well, my guess and Twitter is a fickle beast, but it is predictable. It is predictably fickle. Twitter saw another person of color go home, and I know that is a legitimate concern when we're looking at what's going on with the more diverse seasons of Survivor,
especially last week too.
Exactly, and people were talking about how last week it was only the black people who were being targeted, and I do not have a lot of ground to stand on when I talk about this, but we have a lot of diversity in this cast, and people are going to get voted out. There are people to get voted out nowadays. I don't want to try and put words in Twitter's mouth, but that has been a big conversation in the Twitter sphere.
People have been trying to say certain people are in the LGBTQ community, and that those people or that person has not confirmed that, and so they're basically outing people. So that's not cool. So yeah, Twitter, stop that shit.
Yeah, Twitter, don't do that, please.
Or just recklessly assuming.
Yeah, recklessly assuming. It's not cool.
Characteristics of people, which is just stupid.
Not okay. That is not okay to just assume people's sexuality.
Agreed.
And there has been that going on this week. I'm looking up the cast list. How many white people are on this season?
See, we had Lindsay,
Cassidy, Cody, Gabler, Noelle, Sammy. So 6 white people on this season. Only one has gone home so far. But 2/3 of the cast is not white. Non-white people are going to go home. People get voted out in Survivor.
Yeah, and we did get one response too to our poll. So Brandon Straight on Twitter replied that he thinks for about half the people it was the right move, but for about half it was the wrong move. So he's interested to hear our breakdown. And I'm assuming he's not exactly thinking about the greater alliance of 7 and them needing to stick around, because short term that might be true. But if you're just thinking long term and having the 7 stick together, balancing between these two people, I think that we're all on the same page with that.
Yeah, my guess would be it's not good for the minority grouping, and then because another woman goes home, it's not necessarily great for Carla and Cass when the alternative was Ryan, someone who was actively gunning for her in the past. It's probably not the best for her either. I can see where that's almost a half and half split, but I think being in a power 7 greatly outweighs the fact that Janine identifies as a woman and is in the minority alliance and might give them some flexibility down the road. I think
it's kind of strange
keep
how
with
we
your
got
7.
we got like almost everybody to basically be okay with voting Ryan off at one point of this episode. It's very obvious that it's like, okay, like this would be fine in general, but also in general, you want to keep that alliance together.
And I actually wanted to talk about that for a second because Sammy dares poke his head out. Again, this is a season of Survivor Whack-A-Mole, and Sammy pokes his head out, and Cody pokes his head out back and says no, and then they both go back into their holes and they vote out Janine. So I don't necessarily think it was a good idea by Sammy to try and force this issue, but it looks like he did it delicately enough that it's not going to come back and bite him. So it was almost like he was peering out of the hole, checking for danger, and not like, coming out guns ablazing like Ellie saying, nope, we got to do this, and this.
And next week, we're going to get split into 2 groups of 5, presumably. And 2 people are going to win immunity, 2 people are going to go home. Now that's the time to make a move, not this episode.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get to best and worst player of the episode. Derek, kick us off. Who do you have for best player?
So for best, I had a semi-difficult time with this. I actually just went with Jesse because we found out that he has an idol. So we can't give him credit last episode for that. So I decided to give him his due credit this time. He now has a secret idol. He has another idol that he's holding on to. I'm sure he's willing to give it back. And they didn't rock the boat. He stayed with the Power 7 and seems to be in a good spot.
Josh?
Yeah, I'm kind of along the same lines where I'm not really sure. And I don't really feel too strongly about anyone here. I think Jesse's a fine person to go with, but I'm going to actually give it to Carla instead because I think that she handled 2 conversations really well. The one with Sammy right away, basically when he's proposing this switch, she's like, yeah, maybe, sure. Like, is essentially just taking it and going with it. You can always change your mind later. And then when it was her, Cassidy, and James on the beach, and Cassidy and James are kind of like going at it a little bit. She's just sitting back and not really having a lot of input with the whole with that whole conversation. And then relates with Cassidy after the fact when it's just the 2 of them and James is gone. So I think she handled that pretty well. All in all, not a whole lot of outstanding gameplay to stand above anyone.
I'll give mine to Owen. I think he saved himself tonight by winning immunity, and he did vote with the majority. Their plan wasn't going to work, so he just went along with it, which is what you do. So at least you give yourself that. So Owen's my best.
I'm not going to fight it.
I had an honorable mention for Owen, but all he really had was the immunity for me. So yeah, I just had a hard time with it.
How about worst player, Josh?
I'll give it to Ryan. Why not? Just a little less. I wouldn't even say self-aware because I think he's completely self-aware. He just doesn't know. He doesn't have his priorities straight. How about that?
Yeah.
He thinks that he handled the game by addressing strategy, so he could go off and fish and everything's going to be perfectly fine because that's what Survivor is, right? You don't really have to worry about it. Once you say one thing and decide on it with everyone else, it's done.
There are a lot of people like that who play Survivor. Like, we make a decision, we go with it. And that works in daily life. I kind of like to do it that way too. Or I'm just like, I make my call and I don't second guess and I just go with it. That doesn't work on Survivor. You can't play that way. Nobody else is going to play that way. And you're foolish if you try. Ryan is foolish for trying. It's going to work out for him. The person he wanted to go home went home. I'm not going to give him much credit for that. He threw out a name. Other people said yes, and then he left. And then he went fishing. That's really bad. Ryan is my worst player of the episode.
And I don't think he knows how close it was, too.
Mm-hmm.
I agree that it's Ryan. And just because I want to be different, dishonorable mention to Cash because I don't like the conversation that she had with James out in the open about like, hey, we're voting out all of these women because I think it'll make James and therefore anyone James talks to more leery of you. Deservedly so. And then we cannot confirm nor deny that her vote was shot in the dark insurance. It makes a lot of sense that it was, so I'm not going to ding it too hard. I'm just saying there's some ambiguity there for right now.
Throw a question mark on a Cassidy for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't love that we're going to have to do this in this era of Survivor where we have to throw question marks out. Like, we don't have all the information. That kind of annoys me.
He is the Riddler.
So I almost want to get rid of Shot in the Dark now just because this keeps happening. It's like we don't have all the answers. We don't get it until the next episode. It's like, let's just go to Shot in the Dark. All right, let's get into who is going next. I'll go first. I'm going to keep mine the same as last week. I think Okay, so I guess 2 people are going home next time. So let's do 2. We'll throw out 2 names.
I didn't even think of that, but I probably should have.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're just gonna try and guess who's gonna be on the separate tribes.
So I'm gonna throw. I think the game will shift in the next episode. Because I think Owen's gonna win. So I think this minority group needs to rise and do something. So I think James is gonna be the first one to fall. I think he's gonna be taken out with his knowledge, his power advantage being used, but misses, and he's gonna go home. The second person is a little tougher. I'm not 100% sure where this one's gonna fall at all, but I'm just gonna throw out. Oh God, this is tough.
It is.
This is really tough. Let's just say Ryan. I'll go James and Ryan are the 2 we're gonna go next time.
Oddly enough, I had James as my first as well. I have him misplaying knowledge is power, and I have him going home. For my second one, it's a toss-up between maybe Ryan and Gabler is kind of a throwaway. I'm gonna go a different direction. I'm gonna say James, and I'm gonna say Sammy. I'm gonna say that they're on separate tribes, and it's good as time as any to get rid of the big physical threat.
It is a really good time to do that. Ryan, I hate you. I had the exact same thing. I had James and Ryan. I had James for sure, and I was debating throughout it who my second person should be. I'm like, I think since Ryan was a focus this episode, that just kind of whatever sub alliances just brew in there, and that small group will just default to someone like Ryan.
That's fair. Now, since we're into the jury phase of the game, we can finally start doing this. Who cannot win the game? 2 people cannot win the game if we're doing a final 3. There are 2 people on the board who cannot win. Derek, who are the 2 who can't win this game?
Well, I already mentioned Gabler earlier in the episode, and then you kind of, I don't want to say buried the lead. You did the reverse of that. You brought it all the way up. I agree with you. My second, I had Ryan. He is spending too much time fishing and not enough time building social capital and building bonds.
Josh?
Yeah. Gabler, Ryan, book it.
Same. I had Gabler and Ryan. We're speeding right through this. Yeah, it's a straightforward episode of Survivor. Pretty straightforward podcast to go with it. Last thing we got to talk about is the Survivor pool. I survived with Owen winning immunity, and Josh, you had Ryan.
I had Ryan, like I said,
skin of your teeth.
Sweated it. Yeah. So to recap, we only have 4 people left each that we can choose from. A little bit of variety here. So for Ryan, he has Sammy, Cassidy, Ryan, and Jesse to choose from.
I'll take Jesse because now he has 2 idols.
Yeah, I figured that's how you're gonna go. Unfortunately, I used Jesse in episode 2, so I cannot use him. The only people I have left: Sammy, Cassidy, Owen, Noel. If this was not a split episode coming up, which we're kind of just assuming that that's going to be the case, since that's what we've seen in 41 and 42. But since that is the case, I don't think Noel is long for this world. But since it's going to be really small tribes, I think this is the best time as any for her to use her steal a vote. So I'm going to choose Noel here. Risky, but I think that she's going to be gone very soon. So I'm risking it, especially since I'm only going to have 3 people left to choose from after this.
Yeah, I like the Noel pick. I think I would have done the same thing. Well, we have 2 minutes left of our Zoom call time, so this is like perfect timing to wrap things up. Yeah, pretty straightforward episode tonight, guys.
Pretty straightforward episode. You can follow us on Twitter at Castaway Pod. We're on Instagram, TikTok, or even on Facebook. Go check us out on YouTube. And as Josh would say, smash that like button and ring that bell and do all those things. But yeah, it was nice to have just a nice straightforward episode of Survivor tonight, and we can give you a nice straightforward podcast. We didn't need to take inventory of advantages or anything like that. We just got to talk.
Nice straightforward episode for me to edit. Shouldn't take too long.
You're welcome, Ryan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks, guys. It's nice to just have to enjoy the simple things for once. I know Jeff Probst was probably angry about this episode. It really felt like he was trying to make something out of nothing out of something, whatever. I can't think right now. Something out of nothing. That's the correct one. It really felt like he was trying to do that. And it was like, no, this is just a straightforward episode. Chill out, Jeff. So he probably didn't like it.
He even had his bartering. At least he got that.
Yeah, at least he got to barter. All right. Anything else, guys?
Don't think so.
All right. This has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.